This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Nermeen Sheikh with Amy Goodman in Santa Fe.
This is Democracy Now!, that's right. And we're going to end right now. Even as President Trump has cracked down on dissent and sent troops into multiple cities, organizers of Saturday's No Kings protests expect millions to join at least 2,500 rallies across all 50 states and several U.S. territories. It could certainly go throughout the world. Turnout expected to surpass the 5 million protesters who turned out for No King's Day events in June. For more, we're joined by two guests.
Sigcho Lopez is alderperson of the city's 25th ward. It includes immigrant neighborhoods such as Pilsen, where federal agents have conducted violent raids and arrests. And in Washington, D.C., Leah Greenberg is co-founder and co-executive director of Indivisible, the grassroots movement which part of the No Kings Coalition, helping to organize Saturday's protests. Welcome back to both of you. Leah, if we could begin with you, just talk about the scale of the protests across the country and what you're expecting.
Well, we're expecting about 2,600 protests all across the country in every state and about 18 other countries as well. And we're expecting millions and millions of people to show up, and we are expecting to have a joyful and defiant day that stands as a rebuke to this administration's corruption, its authoritarianism, and its attacks on our neighbors and our rights.
You know, Leah, I was on the plane to Albuquerque, and as people were getting off, they were telling me about the mass protests planned for Albuquerque. They expect somewhat 100,000 people coming in from small towns and cities after having their protests in their towns. There's going to be one here in Santa Fe as well. Apparently, the Trump administration, President Trump himself and those in the White House are deeply concerned about this, and that you have these threats comparing people here to Hamas sympathizers and Antifa, and we've heard what Pam Bondi said, how she's going to deal with Antifa. What is your response?
Our response is that we are engaging in the most American activity in the world, which is coming together in peaceful protest of our government. This is a classic exercise of our First Amendment rights, and it is a classic exercise of the authoritarian playbook to try to create fear, to try to threaten, to try to make people back off preemptively. And we're not going to do that. We won't be bowed, or we won't be cowed. We won't stop. We will continue to exercise our rights peacefully and joyfully and all over the country, because the backlash to Donald Trump is everywhere.
So I'd like to bring in Byron Sigcho Lopez. If you could talk about what you're expecting to happen in Chicago. But first, I'd like to turn to a clip. This is Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz, who made similar unfounded claims on Fox News about the No Kings protests.
What I've been urging is follow the money, cut off the money. And you look at this No Kings rally, and there's considerable evidence that George Soros and his network is behind funding these rallies, which may well be riots all across the country. And Soros is writing the check. And so I've introduced legislation called the Stop Funders Act that would add rioting to the list of predicate offenses for RICO.
And now let's go to Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking on Fox News.
I encourage you to watch. We call it the Hate America rally that will happen Saturday. Let's see who shows up for that. I bet you see pro-Hamas supporters. I bet you see Antifa types. I bet you see the Marxists in full display.
So, Byron Sigcho Lopez, if you could respond to these comments.
Well, it's, anything that comes from the Republican Party is nothing but a distraction. They should be focused on the Epstein files. But one of the things I tell you here in Chicago, what we see is working people coming together. We have never seen this level of unity in our city as we see the shameful, disgusting attack on our city, or constitutional rights being violated on a regular basis, the defiance of federal judges' rulings, and intimidation of judges. So we will not be intimidated. We are not going to be intimidated by no kings, no wannabe dictators. Our city has been victim of a atrocious attack. They're turning the military on working people. We saw how they're shooting at innocent people, then lying to the public. They murdered one of our neighbors. They're conducting a shameful raid. They have kids in C-blocks and parents that are naked in the middle of the street. So Chicago is not taking this. We've been organizing about knowing our rights, a massive campaign that was successful. Now we got to protect our rights. So the Republican Party is a party that is spilling propaganda. They're calling anybody who disagrees with them a terrorist. They want to crush dissent. That's what authoritarian regimes do. And here in Chicago, they're going to find a massive demonstration, more unity, working people fighting the billionaire agenda.
I mean, what's happening in Chicago, you have this judge's angry ruling yesterday saying that ICE is defying what she said as they attack protesters. You even have, Byron Sigcho Lopez, this week, ICE arresting and detaining a police officer in the Chicago suburb of Hanover Park. So how are you organizing these protests tomorrow? And are you concerned about the violent approach that ICE is taking, that they'll attack the protests?
Well, certainly we have seen an unhinged, unaccountable military force. One judge already in Portland, Oregon, said it clearly, and we agree. They've been using the military as the personal militia of the wannabe dictator. They are using excessive force. Not only they arrested a police officer just 2 days ago, they went to another neighborhood after they attacked one of our neighborhoods on the neighborhoods on the southwest side, and they shot a woman that posed no threat to them. They also, just a few days ago, arrested 3 people, 2 of them U.S. citizens. One of them was a 15-year-old black youth that they disappeared for 5 hours. They are unhinged, and the best way that we can do to protect our communities is mobilizing our communities in every corner of the city, and certainly mobilizing on No King's Day to demonstrate the unity of working people. We will defeat the Trump administration. We will defeat Project 2025, and we're asking the judges to hold the line. We see a number of rulings. We're winning in courts, but they're not respecting our Constitution. And in that sense, we need to protect it by mobilizing. There will be no fear, but the fear of what will happen to us if we don't mobilize. And this is the time that we want no wars in Latin America, no wars in the Middle East, and no wars at home. This is the time to stand up and hold the line. And Chicago is mobilizing and fighting back to an administration that is unhinged, attacking innocent civilians with the full weight of the government and the militia that is being deployed as a military weapon, a militia, personally a militia of the wannabe dictator, and also what we're not talking about, the intimidation of judges. Last week or a few weeks ago, they burned the house of one of the judges. We must hold the line and protect each other. Mobilization, organizing, and not giving them an inch. In the courts, in the streets, in legislative bodies, wherever we need to fight, we're going to fight back.
And Leah Greenberg, I mean, as you mentioned, these are not just nationwide protests, they're actually also global. So if you could tell us what are the cities where you think the protests will be biggest, and then your guidance to protesters about how to keep safe this weekend as these protests go on.
Absolutely. Well, it's hard for me to say where I think it's going to be biggest. I think we are going to have enormous protests in many of the big cities across America. I also think that I can't emphasize enough how incredible we are seeing these smaller protests in places where there has never been a protest before. We are hearing about, dozens of protests across Montana and West Virginia and North Dakota. People are coming out in neighborhoods that maybe have never protested before because they are so activated. They might not have ever been political before, but they are activated by what is happening in this country right now, and they know they have to show up. And in terms of safety and security, we take this incredibly seriously. We've been working very closely with hosts across the country who are organizing these protests to make sure that everybody is trained in safety and de-escalation, has a safety plan, that there are marshals on hand when needed. And if folks are interested in security and safety training, then they can go to our website, nokings.org. We have safety protocols for folks to participate
Leah, we have to leave it there, but we will cover these protests, of course, bring it to folks on Monday. Leah Greenberg, co-executive director of Indivisible, part of Saturday's No Kings protest, and Byron Sigcho Lopez, alderperson for Chicago's 25th Ward. That does it for the show. I'll be at the Lensick Theater tonight in Santa Fe for the Santa Fe International Film Festival with the showing of the film about Democracy Now! Steal the Story, Please. Tomorrow at the Woodstock Film Festival at 3 o'clock at Woodstock Playhouse. I'm Amy Goodman with Noreen Sheikh. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.